here that I cut in with the 1 3/8 Forstner bit. Okay. To cut that hole, I did use my drill attachment. Yes, yes. The more safe way, and again, do as I say, not as I do. Okay. The safer routes, Erica, is to always put it around a dowel rod. When you wrap it around a dowel rod, you can hold the outer part and push it in. Okay. True. I don't like to split it because I want to know that it's got force coming down on it. So on that spot right there. But if you had a side view, you would see that my finger is nowhere close to capacity of that device. So then when I go to put my light in, okay, then I'm checking for thickness. Now you'll see that this one's a little thick with my tape on. Very simple fix. Pull the tape off. It goes in, and I want it to go down to snug. Okay. Now, if you got fat fingers, it's a little harder to get out, depending on the snugnesses you have, but then your light comes out. So we've got the hole drilled. I've drilled 1 3/8 to the bottom. I've drilled 1 1/4 to about that far, about 1/8 of an inch past the top of the circle. The next thing I'm going to do is start designing my lantern. Again, you have a pattern. There's patterns here if you want. Okay, that's what it's going to look like. Now, you can do any way you want. I will tell you that I am not a pro. And Keith was so gracious in saying if I want to sell these, that I'm happy to sell them at half the cost, and he'll buy them without service. This is a D-wave, gives you a nice round edge for most. For me, it doesn't work so well. But I keep trying. One day I will conquer this little critter. As you turn this, you want to right it on the halfway point, just below that, just below the halfway point of your project to get your cut. Now, I'm going to attempt that tonight. You can also go to, yes, I do it with the tailstock in. Yeah, and I'll put the tailstock back in a second. You can also buy Easy Tools. They've got the beading attachments. You just need a holder. Okay, this is from a cheap China set of tools that I got when I very first started. The wife went out to Amazon and bought me the $29 set of tools. You know, I love her for it, but so I'm reusing them. But I bought this at Woodcrafts. It's just a 1/4 inch cave. Normally, I will have a bigger. Help me out, Jerry. Live Center, thank you. See, you guys, just client participation. It's great. I will have a bigger Live Center that will fit right on the edge of this. Okay, and it'll fit in the cone. You can also build your own. Okay, I've tried this numerous ways. I'm not as proficient trying to make a plug. I can get it to fit in there, but then trying to get it to hold doesn't always play nice with me. But there's your plug, and then you've got your center. Okay, so you can turn it this way. It works great, and we'll leave that. It's gonna go. The other thing, remember I told you there's a couple things about me. I like to turn fast. Okay, Some people might only turn 700 RPM, 900, 1,000. I like to turn around 1,500. It feels real good for me at 1,500, maybe 1,700. If you're Jerry, you probably turn it at 3,000, because he's an artist. For this, you really only need a couple of tools. You can do it all with this for the most part. Okay. Nice parting tool. You can come in. Don't adjust this while the lathe is running. Big no-no. Okay. Don't adjust that while the lathe is running. Don't forget your facial thinking. But it's you. Well, I'm not in charge of that department. You don't want to see all that top, let me tell you. All right. Can y'all hear me? Good. I can hear myself really well. I'm going to come in and I'm going to cut. Oh, let's put a little more torque on that. Oh, yeah, she's feeling good there. The other reason I'm cutting this down a little bit is so that I can get to my walnut piece. So then when I go to do my curve, that works. Okay. This is a you want to come now you can see this guy. He's got I will be halfway coming in. As I'm moving, I'm walking instead. I'm flipping back. So I can see my car. That works. Oh, okay. Wasn't his fault. All right. Steve's are back alive. So there's my bottom bead. I want to do that right onto the edge. Then I want to come in about a 1/4 inch. You notice I said about. You don't have to. You can go right up to it, whatever you want. 1/8 to a 1/4 inch on the bottom of the light, and then about the same distance on the top. So here we go with another one. Yes. I will rock it a little bit, as my good mentor Barry told me, and Keith validated. If you rock it too much, the tip is going to dig in and you're going to almost create a ring. So just want just a gentle sway so that you're cutting. Okay. Am I doing good? Got me fish. Sorry, Erica, if this jumps off, girl, it's on you. You prepared for it, right? You got your glove? Now, you could come in, I'll cheat. You could come in and take your mighty fine adjustment tool and say, okay, there's my line there. There's my line there. So there's my mark. And I'm really trying not to leave tools up here. At home, I'm notorious for setting my tools on the bed, which is a no-no, Erica. Okay. My wife comes in and she just shakes her head and it's like, well, honey, it is what it is. All right, here we go with the second one. There's that one. The third one, I could do this. Let's do something different though. So on the third one, we're going to come in and we're going to go with square tip. So again, I'm going to drop that down to about there. And then I want to go there. And this is going to be my part there. So now I've got my codes. Oh, don't touch your project while it's spinning. Okay. Ken Tigo will tell you that as long as it's spinning, you can touch the opposite side. I do, as you see. I continually check that. That's how I know if I'm where I'm at. But good habit, turn it off. Okay. See, I got to remember all these things that I'm supposed to tell you not to do that I do. So now all we're going to do is start cutting out. I want to cut out this section, then I want to cut out my light section, and then I'll work on my top. So, am I just hearing myself? Okay. So here I go. I'm going to just trim this down. Again, use your creativity. Just remember, you've cut this down right inside. You're an inch and a quarter. So depending on the block and the stock you have, you might not have a whole lot to play with. Here is where you can do some bubble work. Okay, so my lanterns, I try to give them a little bit of style. I'm going to cut this down a little bit. Now, remember I told you you could do this with multiple tools, right? You can use a gouge. You can use a gouge if you want. If you're real talented, you can come in with that. And even do those areas. I find it just super simple just to use my parting tool. And that's what I'll work on. If I need to clean my edges, like this edge here or this edge, then I can use this, or I can use my gouge, whatever I need to do to get that cleaned up. Once I turn the body and I've turned the end, I've got my nice ridge here. This one's not as pretty, but that's okay. This is just a demo. I've got this turned. Now I want to sand. I'm going to finish this up just a little bit more, take this down just a little more, and then we will sand it up, and then we're going to work on the top. As I said, it's quite simple. That's why I like to do it, because it's not super complex. I am not building I'm not building a segmented piece, which I struggle with. But I can make something that looks pretty and is nice for holiday seasons. People might like to give them out. People might like to share them, and that's what I enjoy. So all I'm doing right now is just going to clean up that one because it looked a little ugly. Might as well touch this one up. The size of these don't matter; it's your preference. You can come in and have it square or round. The dome one I had is I use square. So on the square ones, all I did is took my my gouge and I came in and just gave it a slight roll on the ends, just so it's not boring for other reasons or words. Okay. Once you get that, then give it a quick sand. And if I'm going too fast or you have any questions, feel free to ask me, because I would rather you know than guess and not know. And yes, I'm turning at 1400 RPM and sanding away. I know that you're supposed to turn it down lower and slower, but I enjoy getting it done. My wife says I have problems, so here's my base of my can. So I've got the base done. I could come in if you're good. You can embellish it. Tom does a great job with embellishing, and he's done many courses on embellishing. Sorry, I'm sliding up here. Um, this is an embellishing tool. It comes with a couple different blades. So I can come in here and I can give it a little bit of texturing. What time is it? Am I doing good, Tom? Okay. Yes, sir. I've used a lot of different woods. Cedar is not a choice that I would use for this. Neither would, what's the redwood? Um, no, no, dark red. The Paduk, that stuff does not turn into a lantern at all. Well, the stringiness of it, yeah, it was not pretty. But I've had real good success with spalted maples. Walnuts are beautiful. I don't have any cherry. I would assume it would turn really good. The big thing is the process that you're doing it. You want to wood. Oak does not work well because again it chips and you can't control it, especially trying to make any any kind of embellishments to it. Oak is not favorable for that. But maples work really well. Walnut turns out beautiful. I love walnut, and of all of them that I've made, every one that people look at, 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick up the walnut and go home with the walnut one. So if I had some cherry and stuff, they might choose differently, but they do like the walnut. So that's what I make a lot of. So I'm just going to throw a little. Got a nice little arc right there. That looks pretty. They do tell you the company that makes this. I don't know because I've actually followed directions for once. They said go no more than 400 RPMs when using your embellishing tool. I'm sure some of the pros that have been doing woodworking a lot longer than I would know better. But I stay within the 3 to 400 RPM range. I do have the nut on the left side, I think. I have it on the same side that it came on. So, well, I'm left-handed. So sometimes I do things backwards. I tighten the snot out of that sucker to make sure that it isn't coming off. But yes, if you have it on just on, you have a tendency, depending on which way you turn it, especially this direction, the nut will come out. So I just torque the snot out of it. I've got my embellishment in there. It's nice and pretty. I can use another tool to embellish further if I want. So we're going to give it just a little line. I have no idea what the RPM is there. Oh, 1900. Oh, lovely. So there's my embellishment. One thing I learned in this place is if you go to Home Depot and Lowe's, you can buy Formica little test samples. They make great for embellishing tools. What's that, Jerry? Yes, they do. If you talk to the right people, but they have them hidden. Right. There you go. So go to your local lumber store, go look at kitchen counters, and you want to sample and figure out which one. But it works really good for embellishing. Now, this is walnut. I really don't need to embellish it, but might as well. And now I'm done. Again, I mean, this one's lasted me for 3 years and it's still going strong. I probably got a dozen sitting at home. So from what I've found, it doesn't matter if it is white on the side or black, but I did tend to go with the darker ones just to make sure, my little safety net. But when you're turning fast and pushing that in, it doesn't really matter. It's going to burn. I always burn it till it gets nice and dark and I get a little smoke coming through. Then I say I'm good. Um, Hit it with a final touch of sandpaper. I'm using 150 grit, donated by Tom Zeller Club. Notice a common thread here. Tom Zeller is a really good hidden resource. Okay. Now that is done. You have a choice here. One of two things you can do. You can turn this around and put this in the base, into the chuck. If you do, I highly recommend that you just take some paper towel, stick in there, and then stick that in and tighten that down. I have pinholes on each side. So if I turn it over, then I know that I get to center, tighten that back up, just snug, not super tight. These plugs, if you try to build a plug for it, it doesn't always want to stay when you're getting to the final touch up. Okay. The other thing you can do is just leave it in the chuck and finish it all the way out through here. Let's give that a shot. Down the chuck. There it is. Hiding in plain sight. I can use, again, I can just continue to use that. I'm going to use my little gouge. I love this little critter. It works really well. Once again, you come down, make sure that the tip is under center. Now I want to do two things here. I want to cut this down, and yes, it is round. I want to cut this down, and then I'm going to put a little ball on it. I want to put a ball on it so that I can have my mounting hole. So we'll come down real quick. Now, be creative. Don't don't feel you have to do, one particular cut. I like to give it a little embellishment of down arrow. But you saw the one that I passed around. It had a round dome top. You can go with the dome top if you want. That is totally up to you. Sorry, Kevin. I think I just didn't saw this one. Okay. Sorry about that. Here now is if you want to embellish the top, you could embellish the top if you want to give it some decoration. Okay. Oh, very pretty. All right. Finish this off. Let's just give it a little line right there. All right. Then, whoops, sorry. Whoa, don't like that. We've got it sanded. We've got it finished. We've got it textured. We can come in and burn our lines if you want. Feel like I'm skating here. I don't know how you guys do that every day. And we'll give it a last bit of sanding. The last thing we need to do is put our lampstand holder. I like to come in, find my two holes, stare at it so I know where I'm at. Then I'm going to come in right here in the center. Try to stay center of this. I've got a nice small drill bit. I go all the way through, touch that up with sandpaper if I don't lose it. Okay. And now the finishing touch is making you, I use, sorry, I use 14 gauge wire. It's nice, pretty copper wire. You can use barbed wire. You can use whatever you want to hold it. I've seen people use shoestring or string, tie it on, but I like the look of this. You just cut 2 or 3 inches, whatever you want off. Again, 14 gauge wire, I stripped it. Of course, it comes nestled together. So the common you can yank out first. There's your brass right there. The other, the white and the black, you just literally have to strip it, take a pocket knife or whatever, spin it around and just start pulling that off, get the shield off. Cut you about 2 or 3 inches. Find you a nice bolt or whatever that you want to use as your reference point, and you're literally going to bend that around. That gives you your shape. Then I take my needle nose and I grab it right at the end. I'm going to bend it in at a 90, bend it in at a 90. So now I've got the shape. Okay. So there's my generic shape. You can shape it however you want. There's no right or wrong. And then this will fit right in, spread it out, stick it in the hole. Well, before I do that, let's give it a little bit of a shine. Some beeswax paste. I'm just going to throw a little bit of that on there. You can use anything you want, but this is nice, easy. Now, I did not sand inside the holes. I would recommend that you sand inside of your 3 holes so it's nice and pretty. Once you've got it finished and you're happy with it, then we're just going to cut the tip off and make that done. You'll just need to sand it a little bit on the edge. Okay, there's that. I do put my hand around it. I'm not grabbing it, but I am putting it around it because when this does come off, it's going to get loose, right? I don't want it to fly out and hit the new guy. So I'm just lightly putting my hand around it, and then I'm just going to gently shape the end. Again, you don't have to use this. You can use the devil if you want. For me, it's the devil today because it took my hand. And there you go. Okay. Take your sandpaper, give it a little bit of a kiss on the top just to clean that up. You can put some polish on there and you have a lantern. Take your light, stick your light in. It's going to go right up to that edge. All you really want to do is make sure it gets past the lip. Anything further is gravy. Okay. I like to have a little bit of that tip showing just so people automatically go, oh, it's a light, even though it has a light on. And that's it. That's how to make a lantern. Oh, let's put that little piece in. Where did it go? Here it is. Our holder. Nice thing about 14 gauge wire. It bends pretty easy. There you go. And there's your little light. That's it.